Welcome to your Wednesday Word Now, Storytime with Miss Emily Ann. We are going to be picking up where we left off, which is right at the end of Genesis. This is the death of Jacob, also known as Israel. It's this guy. He's surrounded by all of his many sons in Egypt because Joseph became very important in Egypt, as we learned last week. So, this is the very end of Genesis 48 through 50. And as you probably know, Genesis is the very first book of the Bible. And it's a honker. That's a long book. So the fact that we're almost at the end is significant. And when you're all grown up and you're doing your Bible in 1 year reading plan for the fourth time, hoping for the best, and you reach the end of Genesis, that's when you know. You're doing it this year. This is the year. Or not. In my case, not. There's still time. Okay, let's just finish. Genesis. So this is the death of Jacob. Now Jacob was growing old. Before he died, he called all his sons together to give them each a special blessing. They were to form the 12 tribes of Israel, and he named Joseph a prince among his brothers. He made Joseph promise to bury him in Canaan, in the spot where he had buried his wife Leah, and where Isaac and Rebekah were buried before her, and Abraham and Sarah before them. When Jacob had breathed his last breath, with Pharaoh's permission, all Jacob's family, except the children and those who tended the animals, set off for Canaan, where they buried their father Jacob, also known as Israel. We did it, kids! It's the end of Genesis. And now we move on to Exodus. So the first 5 books of the Bible are known as the Pentateuch, and they were likely written by Moses. So this is the second book of the Pentateuch. Penta means 5, pentagon, pentagram, penta things. I ran out of examples. Pentecost. There's a lot of 5. It means 5. It's Latin. Okay, so the second book in the Pentateuch is Exodus, and it follows a lot of the journey of the Hebrew peoples, starting in Egypt, and sees them through some interesting times, the 10 Commandments, all kinds of good stuff coming in Exodus. But without further ado, let's get to it. So this is Exodus 1. The title there is Slaves. Not a good part of the Hebrew people's long journey. It was a bad situation that God is going to deliver them from. So let's see that story. The years passed, and in time Joseph and his brothers were long dead, but their families continued to grow. By now there were many, many Hebrews in Egypt. The new king believed that there were too many Hebrews in his country. He feared that they would become too strong, so the Egyptians put guards over the Hebrews and turned them into slaves. They forced them to work the land and build for them. The Hebrews were badly treated, yet still their numbers grew, for the women were blessed by God. Now the new king ordered that any girls born to the Hebrews could live, but any boys must be killed. When the Hebrew midwives failed to do as he asked, he gave a cruel new order. All baby boys must be drowned in the river Nile. Those of you who are familiar with some of the Bible stories that we hear in church are going to know that this is where Moses' story starts, as a baby boy born in Israel when there weren't any baby boys that were supposed to be born. But for those of you who don't know what a midwife is someone who cares for women when they are giving birth. So, that's the person who's there when the baby's born and helps make sure that goes smoothly. All right. So this is Exodus 2. This is a prettier picture. There is baby Moses. And you'll see, even now, to this day, they have these super cute little baskets that you can honestly just buy in stores and put babies in. and they call them Moses baskets. You don't float people down the river in those anymore. You just kind of stick them there, like on the couch, for convenience reasons. They're called Moses baskets, and they're adorable, and that's where that comes from. So if you ever hear someone calling it a Moses basket, you know why. Because Moses was put in a basket and floated down the river. However, don't take your mom's Moses basket for your little brother or sister and put something in it and put it in water, because they're not waterproof. No, not at all. Not even a little bit. Okay, a baby in the reeds. Moses was a beautiful baby boy. His mother loved him dearly, but she knew that if the king found out about him, he would be killed. So she made a basket out of bulrushes and wrapped her baby in a shawl and placed him in it tenderly, then lowered him into the water among the reeds and rushes. I think bulrushes is just like a type of plant, because you can kind of see that in the basket. It's probably like wicker, maybe? Some kind of reed, Egypt. Okay. After a while, the king's daughter came down to the river. She noticed the basket and sent her servant woman to fetch it. When Pharaoh's daughter opened the basket, she saw a crying child inside. She picked Moses up and held him gently in her arms. This must be one of the Hebrew babies, she said softly. Moses' sister Miriam was secretly watching from nearby. Now she bravely stepped forward and offered to fetch someone to nurse the baby. When the princess nodded, Miriam darted off to find her own mother, so it was Miriam's mother that looked after her own son until he was old enough for the princess to take him to the palace. And that right there, didn't even see her earlier, that's Miriam. Miriam is very important in the Bible story, both because she helped save Moses and because later she became a prophetess. Okay. All right. The burning bush. Exodus 3-4. When Moses grew up, he was shocked to see how the Egyptians treated his fellow Hebrews. After killing an Egyptian for beating a Hebrew slave, he had to leave Egypt and become a shepherd. More sheep. One day, while Moses was tending his sheep, he noticed that a nearby bush was on fire, yet the leaves of the bush were not burning. As he stepped closer, he heard the voice of God. Take off your sandals, Moses, for this is holy ground. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob. Moses hid his face in fear. I would do. The Lord said, I have come to rescue my people and bring them out of Egypt into the promised land. You must go to Pharaoh and demand that he free them. Moses was terrified at the thought of speaking to Pharaoh, but God told him that he would be with him, and that he should tell Pharaoh that it was Yahweh who sent him. The Hebrew word Yahweh is a sacred name for God among the Jewish people and translates as, I am who I am. I guess they kind of beat me to the Hebrew word of the week. Yahweh. I have another one. Okay. He promised that he would perform many miracles so that in the end, Pharaoh would let the Hebrews go. Moses was scared, but God would not listen to his excuses and sent him back to Egypt, although he did send Moses' brother Aaron to help him. And what they left out of the little story here is that Moses had a stutter, so he couldn't speak quite properly. So Aaron was going as kind of his translator to help him speak. Okay. Now, we go see Pharaoh. I know this video is getting long, but I planned it poorly, so there you go. All right, this is Exodus 5-7. When Moses and Aaron came before Pharaoh and said, the God of Israel asks that you let his people go so that he may hold a festival to him in the desert, Pharaoh could not believe their nerve. Who is this God of Israel? I don't know him, and I will not let the Hebrews go. He was so angry that he made the slaves work even harder. So Moses and Aaron went back to Pharaoh, who demanded some proof of their God. This time Aaron threw down his staff on the ground, and it instantly transformed into a fearsome snake. But the king's magicians huddled together and performed sorcery, and when they threw their staffs on the ground, they too turned to snakes. Even though Aaron's snake swallowed them all up, the king's heart was hardened, and he would not let the Hebrews go. So, this is where I got our Hebrew word of the week. Hebrew word of the week. Pharaoh says no. Now you might be wondering what the Hebrew word for no is. I'm going to tell you. Very similar. It's lo. L-O. Lo. Different letters in Hebrew, but pronounced like L-O. Lo. And then yes is ken. Like K-E-N. Ken, yes. Lo, no. So those are our Hebrew words of the week, along with Yahweh, which is the sacred word for God. And so ends Hebrew word of the week. And we move on. I'm going to go ahead and end it there because this video is getting really long. So I will go ahead and say, see you later, and I will see you next week. And the way that we say that in Hebrew is lehitrot. See you later.